So what we're trying to do here is to talk about that vision process in terms of how we move into the future. I got to make it very clear that when I go through this is that the purpose of what we're trying to accomplish is, instead of building things that are easy to maintain, we need to start building things that are worth maintaining. That's the problem that we face in many communities, that we tend to diverge to that as a default originally. This is the process for what we're trying to do uptown. And I'm going to move around here so that people can see a better version of this. And excuse me for my site here. But at some point, this is an overall view of uptown and what could be. Yes, it does include the road diet, which we've been testing, and the data doesn't lie. Whether we feel we are driving on a road that feels like we're waiting much longer than we are, even if you wait double the time on a 2-minute drive, driving through uptown Maumee is still not a lot of time. But the point of what it does for businesses is incredible. The overall plan, before I get into illustrative renditions, is to talk about the public spaces. Public spaces are important in terms of form in a community and how it feels. And you'll notice that our area here is, when you look in front of Union School, when you look in an infill developments where Monet's is, you start looking at repurposing areas on this plan that you once had asphalt. You start looking at areas that could be infilled, alleys by the Village Idiot, in front of Jackie's Depot, public spaces that now connect in terms of their connectivity. Instead of having one large park, you're now connecting areas that are important for people to understand in terms of what their city feels like. Now, I want to make it very clear is that I understand there are a lot of maintenance needs in the entire city of Maumee. But unfortunately, we all recognize that if our heart isn't healthy, and there are many people here that would recognize that the heart of our community and the heart of many people who don't even live in the city look at uptown Maumee as the center, the thing that they care most about in terms of the community spirit. Going here is what Mayor Carr showed, is some of the areas we're talking about. This is the intersection of the Anthony Wayne Trail and Conant Street. You'll notice that there are different amenities. You'll notice that there are buildings like this one here and buildings here that aren't currently in existence. The idea is to vision what we have for the future. A master plan is exactly that. It is a vision of what you want to see in the future, not how to maintain the existing. It is to see where we want to be 5, 10, and 20 years from now as we move through our future in Maumee. But you'll notice that as you go down here, you'll see arches, you'll see how we frame the public space. We create sidewalks so that people feel like they belong. The buildings being pushed up to the road when they can be, when they're being rebuilt, gives people a sense of street wall so that people are becoming part of this community, and then they use alleys to get back into those spaces. You'll notice in front of this area right here, in front of the theater, many people have, I may have here probably driven through here and noticed that when Tom is up there or somebody from the theater is up there changing the marquee, they're standing on the curb and trucks are literally 12 inches behind them. I'm wondering sometimes, I hope this never happens, but somebody's mirror hitting somebody trying to do that marquee. This provides a much larger area for that to happen. The next slide here is moving up as we go down here. The Speedway station, for instance, this is an example of if Speedway were to rebuild, that you would want them to build up toward the road, creating the same street wall you have in the next block. The idea is to create these public spaces in here that people congregate to cross with wider sidewalks. That's the point of doing this. So, and you'll notice that when we come through here, parking is on both sides of the road, and the landscape areas are much more conducive to softening the concrete and brick environment. The issue here, this, and you'll just to kind of recognize it, this here is Union School. This is the public pavilion, assuming we can work with the school, I'm sure we can. This is a public pavilion and public space that is usable to the community. It's one of the public spaces that ties to a public space over coming across here, to Manette's parking lot, to areas over here. There are a number of public spaces that connect because Maumee doesn't have one large Central Park area. The idea is to create a public space where people live, work, and play, and the community goes there to congregate for all sorts of disparate events. This is another view. This is looking at from St. Joe's Church. Over the other side of this is a pavilion that actually just glass garage doors that open up, and you'll notice that we infill buildings like this, where there are grass lots or surface lots that aren't needed because you've now added 245 parking spaces on the street with this plan, and you'll notice even here on Broadway, all of these angle parking spaces that are here, even here. So when you come down here, you've got a line of those parking spaces, but these are where you can start integrating residential development in an uptown area that which businesses need to thrive. This is a brand new illustration that we don't have colored yet, but this gives you kind of a sense of how that interacts. This is on Allen Street, and it's looking at Jackie's Ice Cream, all right? And you'll notice that the area in front here is no longer parking. That's a public space dedicated to the use of any business, especially the business that borders, while at the same time adding all the public parking, more public parking on the street than you had in their parking lot. This one is a little bit incredible, and I think people recognize these buildings. This is obviously the Village Idiot. This is Georgette's, and this is Buster Brown's, and this is across from the architectural business that Mr. Buer owns. This is Uptown Maumee. This is what people think of when they think of their community. They come uptown, there's ample parking available, but you'll notice that there's a tabletop here under this arch, which by the way has LED lights. You probably recognize these arches are very similar to what you see at Short North in Columbus. But what happens is by doing this and not having 3 parking spaces each side, you've now created outdoor dining space. You'll notice that this allows John and Nikki to open up the side of their business if they so choose, where there's tables inside, creating a space inside the alley. You'll notice the Tivoli lights here. These buildings also can accommodate rooftop dining if they choose. That's why you see people sitting on top of Buster Brown's. All of those are part of the component of making the form of your community look more futuristic and more quaint. And as the mayor said, big box stores are not doing very well right now. We're creating the space we already have. When you look at Levis Commons, you look at and Fallen Timbers, you look at the quasi downtown space they've built. We have it. We just need to improve on it. This is some of the things that the mayor had talked about. These are the signs that we had a local woman named Margot Puffenberger, her design group did this, and then JDI put it in these color renditions that you see. What this is a large, you'll see the human scale. These are entrance signs to Maumee so that you know you've arrived at a community that cares about its people, that is energetic about its future. What you'll notice is that there's also components. There are areas in the community that aren't as easy to put a sign like this. These signs are almost 17, 18 feet long and approximately 12 feet high, which would be on the trail and those kind of areas. These signs are vertical, a bit more edgy, but they would also be used, but they'd be used in areas where they're in the right-of-way, where there's less space between the sidewalk and the curb. You'll notice these sizes are things that are more low profile that could be used, like you'll see as I go forward, in front of other areas. And you'll see this is kind of a sense. And the reason I say this is you'll see this is we've used different areas. So you'd pick one of these 3 and those chances. This, although it looks like stone, is actually a patinaed metal, similar to a dark galvanizing. And these are lit separately. What we have here is the nighttime view. And this is really essential for what the edginess of what we're trying to rebrand the community. These signs, you'll notice, these are channeled signs that sit on top, and they actually glow within, and it emulates the river. The sign here, the City of Maumee, is a reverse channel where white LED lights offset them. So you won't see that necessarily during the day, but you will notice the Maumee. It doesn't glow, but at night you'll see the outline of Maumee, which is what we're trying to accomplish. And this gives you a sense of where those are going to be, right? Aside from more spruce trees and so on, this is out by St. Luke's as you enter the city. This is on River Road coming in from Toledo, which obviously doesn't have as much room in the right-of-way to the curb. This is out in front of Rolfe Park. You notice the soccer nets here. These will still light up the same way. This is kind of gives you a down view of what you're seeing there. And this next one, this is a little bit different. And many people aren't aware of this, and I apologize for the blurry nature of this. When I put the PowerPoint together, it was hard to blow up that drawing when it was a far off drawing. You'll notice that back here, this street right here, that is a cul-de-sac Detroit Avenue. This is being done as part of the almost $10 million ODOT safety project that's happening on the trail from Ford Street all the way to the Toledo border at the I-90 bridge, I-80-90 bridge. This whole intersection will be reconstructed. There's new crosswalks going across here. This ties to the path the mayor referred to all the way across this bridge, and it'll actually connect to Toledo's trail. This will run all the way to Ford Street by side cut crossings as part of that project that starts construction in 2022. But you'll notice this is one of the large signs right here, and it shows you arrived in Maumee. I don't have the night view of that, but I didn't have time to. Then this shows you where it is in relation to this intersection. Now, there'll be curb here, and this will be a little less, but this gives you the sense of what we're trying to do to move Maumee forward in that vision. And this just gives you kind of a sense of the scale, the human scale of what these sign size are. So it takes a measured approach to what we're trying to accomplish in Maumee in terms of looking toward the future. We recognize that these are costly things to do, but we recognize also that if we stay still, we're essentially losing our foothold. We are a first ring community, first ring suburb, and we have to make sure, especially considering a lot of the renovation that's happening in downtown Toledo, we have to start keeping up with that. We have to make sure that the space we create and the environment we create for business is also an environment that which residents want to be and want to interact. I mean, we have some really great bars and restaurants here that people want to be at anyway, but we need to create the space for people to continue to be there. So I appreciate you allowing me to speak today, and thank you to the mayor and Wendy and Dave for their comments, and Kristen, thank you so much.